Hi, I'm Carlo Middione, and this is Carlo Cooks Italian. Today I'll show you the easy route to some of southern Italy's most satisfying classics. Polenta and clams, polenta con le vongole, is a combination that is sure to satisfy even the biggest appetite. Cauliflower gratinato, cauliflower au gratin, is a quick and delicious way to serve a greatly underappreciated vegetable. And since everybody loves ice cream, I'll show you how Italians make their distinctive gelato di vaniglia, vanilla ice cream. Venite cucinare con me. Come cook with me on Carlo Cooks Italian. Welcome to my kitchen. Polenta con le vongole, or polenta and clams. It's a highly regarded dish in the coastal areas of the Abruzzo. It's a fantastic combination of the land and the sea with the hardiness of the polenta and the freshness of our clams. The tastes are very earthy, but when I show you how it's presented, you'll see the polenta con le vongole is also very glamorous. I'll give you the exact amounts for the recipe in a minute, but to start I need to get my sauce going. My pan's already warming up over here. It's hot. And I'm going to add extra virgin olive oil. This is what is the choice oil in southern Italy all over. Always extra virgin olive oil, no matter what your cooking needs are. And then the pan should be medium warm, but you don't want to burn this up because the garlic has to be golden. Well, I'll use this end because it fits in here. Usually I have these little bowls domed up like this, and I have so much garlic, I have plenty here. But over here, I'm going to just start coloring up my garlic, and I want it to be golden, and I want it to smell really nice. But don't burn this, because if you do, it's going to spoil the flavor of the tomato sauce that we're about to make over here. Now, this smells already pretty good to me, and you see how they're just sort of sizzling there. Now, that's a real nice temperature. I'm going to add tomatoes. I have these tomatoes. These are out of a can, actually, and they're very good. I think canned tomatoes always work pretty well. But you could use fresh ones if you want, but just be sure to core them and to take the skin off, because, you know, the skin is really kind of tough to eat. So you want to be sure that you do that. And then this, I'm just going to circle around here like this, and then that's about all there is to this. Now, if I were to wait, I'd wait 5 minutes until it starts to simmer and start just plopping along to get this sauce kind of started. But I'm not going to wait the 5 minutes. I'll just show you how I'm going to proceed here with this. I have the clams here, and you can just place them into the pan all around. If you have enough, if your pan is high enough and you have enough room, you can stand them up like that too, because that little muscle, see this little muscle in here, is what keeps the clam open, and I mean closed rather, and when it opens from the heat, then they just come right up. But it doesn't matter. However you do this is fine. But you want to lay these all in here, and it's going to, these shells are really heavy. It's going to take a good, maybe up to 5 minutes just to open the shells. But then, once they're open, you want to let these cook for about 5 minutes, because, you know, these are really big clams. And if you don't let them cook a while, they're going to be tough. You need to cook these maybe a total of 8 minutes, all right? Now, over here, I have 2 quarts of boiling water and a teaspoon of salt. It's just very lightly salted. And I'm going to put in some polenta. This is my polenta over here. See how this is kind of coarse like this? It's like little grains. Now, if this polenta would be ground up any finer, it would be called farina, or flour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this polenta into the pan a pioggia. It's like it's called rain. Pioggia is rain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir in one direction only. And you can put this in at a pretty good stream here. It doesn't matter. Now, you know, in the old days, the Roman soldiers on their many conquests used to have polenta, called pulmentum, pulses. That's the word for wheat. And in those days, in the Roman days, there was no corn, because this wasn't brought over until, you know, about the 16th century. So they had pulses, or the polenta, which was just ground up triticum dicocum, the wild wheat, and they ate that. And it just cooks up in 2 or 3 minutes. Polenta needs more cooking, but since polenta has become the sort of the grain of choice. It's just remained corn, and that's what it is today, and it's extremely good. You know, the Italians have a great big copper pot called a paolo. It's unlined copper, and it's real shiny and it's wonderful. And if you do this on top of the stove, it takes you about 45 minutes, and you get splattered on your wrists, and it kind of burns a little bit, and that's kind of fun to do, believe it or not. But this is a method that I've sort of developed, and I think it works really well. You cook this in a double boiler. And actually, you know, with those old copper paiolos in Italy, where people still love to do them on the open fire, they have now automatic ones with a little stirring device. This is my automatic stirrer here, but, you know, that's the way they do it. But anyhow, when this polenta starts to float and suspend up here like this, then you can put it over a pot of boiling water, just over here. No problem with that. And then it just gets a lid on top of it. I guess I lost my lid, so I'm going to use this one. And just cover this up, and for about 1.5 hours, it's just going to cook at a medium fire like this. Just stir it about every half hour or so. And the nice part about this is that when it's done, you lower the heat. It can sit in this pot covered with this for 3 hours in perfect condition. There's no problem. So when it's done, the polenta is going to be real shiny and smooth, and it's going to taste sweet because it's properly cooked. If you undercook it, it's going to be a little bit bitter, so watch out, you know. Now, over here, I'm going to have, look at here, here's our surprise. These are our clams. Aren't they beautiful? They opened up, and they're really, oopsie-daisy, they're really cooked very well. Now, if any of them don't open, or they just open a little bit like that, just discard them because you don't know what condition they could be in. Now, I guess we're ready to do our dish. I need to add some salt and pepper, though, because I've got to have a little flavor in here, and I always use sea salt, not too much. And then I'm going to put in some pepper. You could do this at the beginning, but I sort of like to have them cooked before I do this. So, okay, now, my polenta that's done over here, and this pot is not hot. These are good handles. They don't heat up. This is kind of fun. I'm going to put it right on a polenta. I'm on a board, a polenta board. I'm not going to use a dish, but you could use a dish. But isn't this great? This is called polenta alla spianatoia, which is just really a fun way to do this. And then I just spread this out, but not too evenly. I want to make a nice sort of design here, just like this. And I want to go a little tiny bit up on the edges so that when I finally put some more things on top that I don't lose it all, okay? Now, I waste not, want not. There, that's done. Now here's these are terrific. Beautiful. Okay, here we go. This is our clam. Okay, these I'm just going to take out and place like this. Over here. You could use tongs if you want, or a big spoon. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to set these all out here. Look, ooh, nice, huh? And then I'm just going to put on a little bit of sauce here, and then red pepper flakes, because that gives it its flavor. And this is one of my very favorite ways. You'll have more sauce here. It's one of my favorite ways to serve polenta with clams. Now I'm going to put red pepper flakes on. Now this is important. It's an important part of the dish, and it's really, really flavorful. Now this is the kind of a dish where you don't want to add any cheese. It never goes on top. Now when you want to make polenta con le vongole, you'll need 6 pounds of cherry stone clams or 4 pounds of manila clams, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 cups of polenta, 1/3 cup of extra virgin olive oil, 3 cloves of garlic, 3 pounds of tomatoes, salt to taste, 5 grindings of pepper, and 2 teaspoons of red pepper flakes. You can serve individual plates of the polenta with clams, but if you have a nice big table and some really good friends you enjoy eating with, you might just bring the board with the sauce just right to the table and give everyone a nice big spoon like this and just let them serve themselves. It's really great fun. Next, cavolfiore gratinato, cauliflower au gratin. It's a pretty and delicious way to serve a highly underrated vegetable. Cavolfiore gratinato, or cauliflower au gratin, is a great Sicilian dish that dresses up both the flavors and the presentation of a vegetable some consider bland and boring. I don't think so. Actually, I think cauliflower is not properly understood. So many people say they don't like it because usually other people overcook it. It should be cooked to taste to a stage much like al dente, where you can chew it. There are plenty of health claims which should encourage you to eat it, but I like to eat it because cooked properly, it really tastes good. Let me show you how to prepare the cauliflower. This is a nice head of it here that's been washed in cold water. See how nice and clear this is and firm? This is really a good one. And I'm going to strip off the base part. You can use a great big knife like this to cut it right through here and start making your trimming if you want, or you can go around the edge here with a little bit of a paring knife like this and just pull these leaves off as you go. But these leaves are not particularly good to eat, so there's not much we can do with them, because I saved just about everything. And then you can cook this either whole in a whole head, and I think I'm going to do that, or you can break it up into little pieces. It doesn't matter. So let me get rid of these because I don't need these right now. And then here, there's my head. Very nice. Now I've got water over here. This is boiling water, or it's almost boiling water. 6 quarts of water and a tablespoon of salt is a good sort of ratio. And then you want to just put this in, and don't throw it in because it could maybe splash on you, and you don't want to get burned. Now, once this water comes back up to the boil, let it boil gently for about 12 minutes, and then strain it, let it drain until it cools off. And then if you do it in pieces, let them cook 4 or 5 minutes, but not more than that. Maybe 3 to 4 is even better. But when it's done, see, you have a head like this, and it's kind of you can kind of tap it, and it sort of rebounds. And I just stick a skewer in it. If it goes in rather easily, then it's done. If it's a little overdone, it's going to smell, like overcooked cabbage. So you don't really want to have it like that. But if you do overcook it, just save it for soup or mix it with mashed potatoes and garlic. It's really great. Now this one, I'm going to cut up into pieces here. And you don't want to make the pieces too small, and you don't want to make them too big. So what I do is just take a piece like this and then cut them into, that's about the size of a lemon. That's kind of your good, a good kind of a thing to remember. Make them about lemon sizes like that. And then if you want to eat this, trim it up and put it in there, that's fine to do that. I think I'll just put it in because I like to eat it. Okay? Let me just finish cutting these up here and get this done. Now, I've got a buttered dish over here. And you see, and it's a low-sided dish. You don't want to get the dish up too high because otherwise these won't really get any color on them. They'll just sort of steam, and you don't really want that to happen. I'm going to put my end piece in there because I really like that. Now, this is really nice. Here's the good part. I have some garlic here. I have a large clove of garlic, which I'm just going to scat around. And this gets like a nice amount of garlic on it because it needs that flavor. Then I have chopped parsley here, about 3 tablespoons of chopped Italian parsley, and I always use Italian parsley because it really tastes so good. I have a half a cup of grated caciocavallo cheese. If you can't get caciocavallo, use provolone or use scamorza, but it has to be like a firm, rather tasty cheese, that's pretty good. Now, I have some breadcrumbs here. You can use fresh or you can use dry crumbs. Doesn't matter. Just put them on top. And then a little bit of butter here. I've used olive oil. This is half a cup of melted butter, just on the top like that. Then just a tiny bit of salt and a tiny bit of pepper. And ordinarily, it's unusual to find butter used in a dish like this. Usually it's olive oil. So this tells me that this came from a very important house that had some money going for it, or else this had a foreign influence. And in southern Italy, foreign influence could well be somebody who came from the north. Anyhow, there it is. And I just baked it in the top third of the oven for about 20 minutes at 375 until it's golden, and it should be served hot. Now, when you'd like to make cavolfiore gratinato, you're going to need half a cup of melted butter, a head of cauliflower, 6 quarts of water for boiling, a tablespoon of salt for the water, 1 clove of garlic, 3 tablespoons of parsley, half a cup of grated caciocavallo cheese, 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, and salt and pepper to taste. This is a perfect dish to do ahead because, you can cook the cauliflower ahead of time and just keep it handy. And then you can have all of your ingredients all laid out, arranged for you, so that when you're ready to do your dish, you just put it all together and pop it in the oven. Next, gelato di vaniglia, a lush, creamy version of vanilla ice cream. Italians don't usually make their own ice cream. It's much easier and more fun to make a passeggiata. That's a promenade where you walk arm in arm with your friend to the local gelateria, which is the Italian version of an ice cream parlor. But when they do make homemade ice cream, vanilla is almost always the choice, and it's a very popular choice. To start, I'm scalding some milk and whipping cream over here, and it's nice and warm. If you're using a thermometer, you want to make it about 180 degrees, and watch you don't have too high a heat, though, because it could just boil right out over the top of the stove, and then it'll taste cooked, and you don't really want that. So I've got 2 cups of whipping cream in here and a quart of whole milk, and if you want to use skim or low-fat milk, this is not going to work too good because it doesn't have enough fat in it. It's going to change the texture. It's going to be real grainy and probably freeze up like a block. And to counteract that, you have to add a lot more sugar. And if you do, sugar is an antifreeze. It just isn't going to freeze up. So there it is. Now, if the milk cooks too long, just skim off any of the top thing over here. As a matter of fact, I'll just see whether that's going to happen here. See, this is a top sort of scum over here. This because I kept it a little too long here on the stove. But there's nothing wrong with this. It's just a matter of aesthetics, okay? Not going to hurt anything. So I'll just get most of that off and put it aside over here. Now, I've also got a vanilla bean in here, and I'm going to take this out. Now, this vanilla bean, you know, if I want to, I can cut it open and put the seeds in there to get it more flavorful. But I can also use vanilla extract. For instance, over here, I have some vanilla extract, and this is really good because, you know, it's a little expensive, but it's worth it. You don't use all that much. And my vanilla beans, I store them in sugar because then that gives me a great deal of flavor in my sugar. So when I make my recipes, I've already got a head start on my vanilla flavor. Now over here, I've got some beaten eggs. I've got 6 egg yolks and some sugar together here, and I'm going to pour the scalded milk in here, and I want to be careful that I don't just dump it all in at once. You could do this with an electric mixer if you want, or one of those little handheld things. That would be kind of handy. But the reason that I don't pour all of the milk in at once here is because if I did, the heat from the aggregate amount of this milk would curdle these eggs, and I don't want that. So if I do it a little bit at a time like this, these eggs are, well, what we call tempered. In other words, they're getting used to that heat, and they're going to stay supple. You see what I mean? So now I'm just going to continue to do this. And this doesn't take long. You can just do it by hand if you want. Now here's the trick. As soon as this is all mixed together, I'm going to put this back into my pan here, and then I'm going to cook it until it just begins to simmer. Now, let me see if I can put this in here without dumping it all over the stove, right? You can use any kind of a container you want, but this is just an idea. And the reason that I did this is just because I want to get everything mixed up together, and this is the safest way for me to do it so that I don't curdle the eggs, okay? Then, now here's, don't get confused, but I'm going to put this back into my bowl here, and then guess what? I'm going to cool this in the refrigerator overnight. I want it real cold, okay? Now, when it's real cold, like this one that I have over here, I'm going to put this into my ice cream maker. I'm going to be putting about half of this in because my ice cream maker doesn't have as much capacity as that I would want. And then when I'm all finished with this batch, I can put it in the freezer and then finish off here without even having to re-wash my dasher in my bowl. Now, when it's done, it's going to keep, you know, in the refrigerator a couple of weeks with no trouble. But here's one that's beautifully done. I want to bring in some of these delicious things to go with it. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to serve this up in my dish over here. Oh, that's nice. I think maybe just a tiny bit more right over here because, I mean, after all, I like ice cream. Then I'm going to put a few strawberries around it over here like this. Now, you know, you don't have to have strawberries on this. You could have blueberries. You could have anything. You could have it just plain. It's really delicious. And remember that just a shot of whiskey on top of here is good. Scotch is what you really want, okay? And then let me put one right here because that looks nice. Then I was going to serve some quaresimale or some other plain cookies like this. And it makes a really delicious dessert, and you could get it all done ahead and keep it in your freezer. Now, when you want to make your own gelato di vaniglia, you're going to need 2 cups of whipping cream, 1 quart of whole milk, 6 egg yolks, 1½ cups of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 vanilla bean or 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. This is a wonderful meal balancing hearty indulgences with fresh tastes. Polenta con le vongole, polenta and clams from the Abruzzo makes an impressive display that's also an immensely satisfying meal in itself. You can take the polenta on the board just to the table the way it is. It's more traditional that way, or you can dish it out individually for your guests. Cauliflower au gratin, cauliflower gratinato is a wonderful combination of Sicilian tastes and textures that everybody will enjoy. Gelato di vaniglia has its own distinctive taste, but since it's not terribly assertive, you could pair it up with other desserts to make delicious combinations. There are other ways you can make this gelato, but I like this one because it's so creamy and luscious. This version would be a perfect choice to use in spumoni, and alone or with some other treat like this quaresimale or biscotti. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this luscious version of vanilla ice cream. If you'd like to have wine with your meal, you could try this bianco, white. It's made from Catarratto and Inzolia grapes of Regaliale near Palermo. It has a pale straw color, it's delicate in aroma, and has a nice, dry, crisp taste. And with the ice cream, you could always have a nice, delicious espresso. Well, that's it for now. In bocca al lupo.